Hello. Today we're going to talk about the Warhammer 40k rules for the new Tyranid and AdMech kill team releases that have been revealed for 40k before they've even gone up for pre-ordering kill team. Let's talk about that. So we know we're expecting kill team Titan. This will bring two new kill teams, the Servtor kill team and the Ravener kill team. It's reasonable to expect that these new kill teams, will get rules for Warhammer 40k. What was unexpected, at least for me, was the idea that the 40k rules would come out first. Maybe this implies a little bit of release schedule chaos for Games Workshop. It does feel like Typhon was previewed quite a little while ago and it's taken a little while to come out. Maybe that's been pushed back and moved around a little bit, and then when they planned to go live with the 40k balanced data slate, they assumed that Typhon would already be on pre-order, because usually the 40k rules for the kill teams come out in the 2-week window while the kill team product is on pre-order, right? So I just think maybe Typhon has slipped a week or two. I do think it will probably be in today's Sunday preview, but I've thought that for the last 2 Sundays, so who can tell? Right, we're going to start with the Servtor Battleclave, because frankly, Servitors are cooler than Tyranid Watters, in my opinion anyway. And we can kind of tell more about them because they're Imperial, and we get a better handle on what the different Imperial guns are going to translate into. This slide is absolutely jam-packed, so I'm going to hide my face. There we go. Right. So, the Servtor Battleclave for 40k is a 9-model thing, right? That consists of 1 Servitor Underseer, 2 Gun Servitors, 6 Combat Servitors. We know that the kill team is 10 models. That's because the kill team is going to include another guy, the Tech Priest that's been previously available and comes originally from Blackstone Fortress, right? But this product, the Servtor Battleclave, is 9 fellas. Now, drawing conclusions about kill team rules from 40k rules is always challenging, because the rules in the past have been quite different. But the main thing I think we can tell, and the first thing that I rushed to look at when the Servtor Battleclave rules were put up, is the options available for various things. Like, what the biggest thing we're going to get from these 40k rules that's relevant to us as kill team players is what's actually available on the plastic frames of the kit. Okay, so straight away my eyes went to the fact that the unit, the Servtor Battleclave unit in 40k, can include precisely 2 gun servitors, and 1 gun servitor is armed with a heavy arc rifle and a servo claw, and 1 gun servitor is armed with a heavy bolter and a servo claw. So what this tells me, look, this is not a surprise in a sense, because this is exactly what was pictured, 2 gun servitors. But a lot of people believe, if you remember the Inquisition, when they came out, you could only have the one, you only got the 1 servitor model. You could have 2 in the team, but you got the 1 model. But it could have a heavy bolter or a multi-melter or a plasma cannon. So a lot of people were hoping that there was an unseen heavy plasma cannon or multi-melter option for the gun servitors, and they just chose to show off 2 of them, because Games Workshop has a habit of doing that. They don't always show off every single weapon option. But I think from this data sheet we can conclude that there are going to be 2 gun servitor miniatures in the box, and you're going to build them. Heavy bolter and the heavy arc rifle, and that's going to be what you have, and that's going to be what you can bring to every single game. No, you won't necessarily have to bring them. It might be in the fullness of time. When we see the kill team rules, it's like, oh, I don't want the heavy bolter servitor, I want an extra warrior. It doesn't seem desperately likely to me, but it might be that that's what you think. But I think this will be the sort of fixed loadout for the two servitors. So obviously we know what a heavy bolter is. There's loads of heavy bolters already in kill team. The heavy arc rifle, if we look at its 40k rules, so this is a new thing. It's anti-vehicle 4-up, rapid fire 1, range 30, 1 attack, BS 4, strength 8, AP -2, damage 3. And if you go through and compare this with the 40k rules for a plasma cannon and the 40k rules for a multi-melter, this is pretty similar to a plasma cannon. I think it will be similar to a plasma cannon, except without the blast, and therefore without the gets hot, right? So I think it's likely to be something in the arena of 4 attacks, 5-6 damage with piercing 1, and with infinite range because it's a heavy weapon. I think that's where we're going to be headed for the arc rifle. Of course, what's always hard to predict is they might decide to give it some kind of special rules that we haven't seen before. But I think it's going to be a long range, single target, really very powerful weapon, right? It's going to be in that kind of multi-melter las cannon kind of area. But I think it is only going to be piercing 1. Because of course the multi-melter in 40k has AP -3, so I think that's where we're going to get to. Then we got the basic gun. So every servitor on the gun servitors by default comes with a let me just get the name right, a phosphor blaster. So a phosphor blaster is 24 inches, 1 attack, hitting on 4s, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. So this is basically a bolter, okay? But what it does have is rapid fire 1 and ignores cover. And I would expect that ignores cover to be carried through. Phosphor blaster comes from like white phosphorus, which was a thing that was actually used in World War II that was designed to sort of get people out of cover. So I would expect something like a bolter with saturate is going to be similar to their default weapon, which sounds pretty powerful, right? Marines have bolters, and bolters are great, but of course, hitting on 4s, guys, hitting on 4s. So a bolter with saturate, I think, is probably about what we're aiming at, right? And then the other things that we learned from the data sheet is on this data sheet, 1 gun servitor can have a melter gun. Now, if you look at the Warcom preview of the servitors, there was a model called a breacher who had a separate fancier gun. That gun doesn't actually look like a melter gun. So it wouldn't surprise me if in Kill Team, the breacher's gun has a completely bespoke set of special rules and things that it does. And then the team, when they've come to write 40k rules for that, have just gone, oh, melter gun's close enough. So whether that ends up being literally a melter gun or whether it ends up being something melter gun adjacent, I could see it being like in Kill Team, like an extra short range melter gun, maybe like a melter gun pistol. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Now, another thing that's interesting is that 3 of your servitors can have igniters, right? So in 40k, you've got your 2 gun servitors, your overseer, and 6 combat servitors, and one of your 6 combat servitors can have a melter gun, and then the other 4, the other 5 that exist, sorry, half of them, 3 of the 5, right, can have igniters. Now, what's interesting from a kill team perspective, no rules in 40k, but we know we have 2 specialist servitors. We've got some kind of medic servitor and some kind of comms relay ability servitor as well. So that means in the realm of the kill team, if you assume that you're always taking your 2 gun servitors and your 3 specialist servitors, you're taking 3 Billy Basic Warrior servitors, and you then get enough parts on the sprue because there are 3 igniters that I think you could give them all probably igniters or phosphor blasters. So if the phosphor blaster is a bolter with saturate, let's say, let's have a look at the igniter. So the igniter is a flamer, right? It's a 12-inch range, D6 attack, strength 3, AP 0, damage 1, ignores cover torrent. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, because I've not been in 40k for a long time. I've said in the text they seem to be fancy flamethrowers. Actually, they just seem to be bog standard flamethrowers. So I think, therefore, you're going to get a choice between a flamethrower and a bolter with saturate for your 3 troopers. Now, look, we've always said it's been it's a truth of kill team. Flamethrowers are bad and you should never take them. But it's worth saying that when that's been expressed the most firmly, it's when you're getting a team like Kazakin, where your flamethrower is supposedly competing with a melter gun or a plasma gun. In the world where your flamethrower is competing with a bolter, and your bolter's hitting on 4s, and in kill team land, your flamethrower is going to be hitting on 2s, might you prefer the flamethrower? You know, might you go, actually, I'm going to have 3 flamethrower servitors, and I'm not going to have 3 bolter servitors at all. Especially considering Into the Dark's thing, so now your 3 flamethrower men have got like lethal climb up as well. And again, this isn't supposed to be a spirited defense of the flamethrower per se, saying, oh, flamethrowers are good actually, but it's all about the opportunity cost, right? What I'm saying is, if this is how it pans out, if it's flamethrowers versus bolters, might flamethrowers be good actually? Let me know in the comments what you think, right? Would you rather have, assuming this is what it is, would you rather have a bog standard flamethrower or a 4-up, a bolter that hits on 4-ups that has saturate? Because I think that's likely to be the options for your 3 regular Joes. Other things to point out on this sheet is that they have been given a 6-up invulnerable save, 4-up save normally, which I expect to carry over to kill team. 4-up save is what I'm expecting. A 6-up invuln. I don't think that they will get 6-up, a 4-up regular and a 6-up invuln isn't a thing that the kill team engine can currently handle. Right, we don't have in this edition of Kill Team. We lost from the previous edition of the Kill Team the idea where you can have, well, a save or a separate, weaker but unmodifiable save. That's not a thing we do in this edition of Kill Team. But whether they'll have some other kind of survivability mechanic, right? Are they going to be like, are they going to get some extra wounds? Because right now they're 1 wound, so we'd expect them to be like 7 wound guys with a 4-up save. But does that 6-up invulnerable save in 40k? Does that like imply that they're going to get some kind of damage reduction or some other thing? I mean, I'd hope so. They need something, and it kind of lets them have that zombie vibe, right? That kind of like, oh yeah, you know, you've shot the servitor, and you know, the servitor is going to die from its wounds eventually, but within the scope of the sort of 4 or 5 minutes, whatever it's supposed to be that a game of Kill Team takes place over, the servitor is just going to ignore the fact that his lifeblood is pouring out of this wound on his arm onto the floor, right? And he's just going to keep going. And so that's how we justify in lore terms them having some extra damage reduction, right? So they're kind of got this tech zombie thing going on, which I think is really cool. And then the other thing I wanted to flag up on these really is the idea that in 40k they have a special rule, network override. When this unit contains 1 or more tech priest models, this unit is eligible to perform an action in a turn in which it advanced, and eligible to shoot in a turn in which it started an action. This is really cool because this is giving them a positive buff. So when they have one of their boss characters in range, they become better. My fear is in Kill Team, it'll be like the servitors are in Inquisition, where it's like, oh, if they don't have their boss man in range, they become worse, which feels much less enjoyable and exciting. Like it's wearable in Inquisition because you're like, well, they've got this drawback, but also I've got a multi-melter or a plasma cannon. Whereas when you're a guy with potentially a flamethrower or a bolter that hits on 4s, if you then also have to be babysat by something, That sucks. Now, we don't really know anything about what the special rules are going to be for the servitors. I think they're going to be far more, Kill Team being a skirmish game versus 40k being an army level game. We know that the special rules are going to be more overwrought with more things to them and more specialists. So maybe there'll be tables that you can roll on and things that you can do and blah, 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 blah. And we got this vague idea of action points moving around the new sphere between models, and like this servitor shuts down, so this servitor can be APL 3 or whatever, and things like that. So I'm not really predicting any of that stuff because it seems really hard to predict. But what I am sort of saying is it hopefully they feel like they get something extra for having their tech priests nearby, rather than simply having a limitation where it's like, well, you better have the tech priest nearby or you're going to suck. Because even if that latter case is balanced, disadvantages feel bad. They are a negative play experience. So that's what I think about the servitors. There's a lot to glean from them, I think. We're going to have to look at the Raveners. I am much less enthused because I don't think Tyranids are that interesting to me. I know that puts me at odds with the entire rest of the internet, who will not shut up about Raveners and Tyranids and Raveners and Tyranids and Tyranids and Raveners. And then they're like, oh yes, there's some Bogbrush fellows in there as well, I suppose, right? But I don't find the Raveners particularly interesting, but let's get through it. In 40k, there are two different kinds of Ravener that they've released rules for. There's the Raveners and the hyper-adapted Raveners. I've only shown the hyper-adapted Ravener data card here because the basic Ravener data card is very boring. I don't think it tells us anything that's not already informed by this hyper-adapted Ravener card, right? So first we're going to look at the stat lines. They have movement 10. Now we know 6 is the baseline in 40k. In Kill Team, we've seen 6, we've seen 7, we've seen 5. I don't think we're going to get 10-inch move in Kill Team just because of the size of the Kill Team table, but we might go to 8. Right, we might go to the highest move yet that we've had, a movement of 8 inches, which is still pretty nuts. But you've got to remember, we are only getting 5 of these. The other thing that's interesting is that they have 3 wounds, right? Which is quite a lot. If something has 3 wounds, we might expect them to come out with 18 wounds, which sounds about right for a 5-model team. If Astartes have 14, Raveners have 18, that kind of makes sense. But the boss Ravener has 6 wounds. Now, we're used to bosses in Kill Team getting +1 wound, and I could see them just doing +1 wound. Like, they all have 18 wounds and the boss has 19. But they could do something really, really brutal where, maybe they all have 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, somewhere in their wounds, but the boss is like 20 odd. The boss is like 20 odd or something like that. And then it would kind of fit that old Tyranid thing about the leader being really important compared to all the others. So that's really interesting that they've gone for the idea that the Prime is just much more chunky than all the others. But that could be something the 40k team decided to do. As I said, it's not informed by the plastic. I think the reason I think I have more to say is not just my bias towards the Imperium. The reason I have more to say about the Servitors is because actually I think the main thing we learn from these sheets is what's on the sprue. And with the Raveners, they kind of just are what they are, right? They don't have much in the way of specialists or extra little greebly pieces. So it's rules, and rules can be made up and changed around and shifted. We also see that the Prime, if we go down to the melee weapons, that the Prime's claws and talons are identical to the everyone else's, but they have twice as many attacks. So you're looking at something here which has AP -2, hitting on 3, strength 5, damage 2. I'm not sure how exactly that's going to map onto Kill Team, but needless to say, I think all of the Raveners are going to be really good in combat, right? And maybe the Prime's just going to be really super very good. Like maybe they go around this model where actually it's like the Prime is just much better, and that's so you've got like 5 Space Marine type things, and then one guy that's just absolutely ridiculous. Maybe that's the way they go with it. I don't know. And then we learn about one specialist, right? They've got a ranged guy. They've got a guy with the venom bolt, which looks like I mean, it's a torrent range 12 thing, so it's going to be a flamethrower for kill team purposes. So it's going to be hitting on 2s, and it's going to have torrent. But if we look at the stats on this, it's got D6 plus 3 attacks rather than just D6. It's strength 6, AP -1. So this is going to be like an upgun flamethrower, like a really lethal flamethrower. Maybe it'll have piercing crits. Maybe it'll have high damage numbers. And it's been confirmed that we only get one of those. So obviously that maps to that specialist. And that's really it. Like, there are no other surprises in here. Things on the plastic, little bits of war gear that the different things can have. And I don't think you can read that much into the Ravener data sheets because they're not as defined a thing in the lore. Therefore, there's nothing stopping the kill team rules writers going in a slightly different direction for the combat attacks and the special rules and the venom bolt thing. But we know the venom bolt is going to be a flamer type weapon. I think that's something Soldier can take away. We're expecting lots of wounds. We're expecting a bit extra movement, and that's about it. Like, I hope I'm not being short on the Raveners because I do have biases narratively as to what kind of thing I prefer, and it isn't Tyranids. But I generally just think it's more difficult to pull much out of this Tyranid data sheet compared to an Imperial one. So there you go. I mean, and that's really it for today. I can put my face back on the old thing. Hello, I am. So, are you excited for these teams? Let me know. I'm not really. I'm going to buy the box because Mrs. T.I. really wants the Raveners, and the Servitors are going to go on that maybe pile, along with things like Space Marine Scouts and Necrons, where I've intended to do them. And honestly, I may never get round to doing them unless the rules look really interesting. But I'm really interested to learn the rules. Like, I'm Servitor curious, right? I'm not that fussed on the Raveners, but I'm Servitor curious. Let me know which one interests you more, though. Like I said, I feel like I'm the only person that's even as far as Servitor curious. I think most people are full on Servitor deniers, right? Servitor ignorers, Servitor mockers, So, whereas everyone else I've seen on the internet has been like Ravener, Ravener. So I fully expect the comment section to say Ravener, 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 Ravener. Which is fine. That's what you believe. I'm going to be my lone weirdo thinking the Servitors are cooler than the Raveners. That's me. Apart from that, have you looked at the 40k data sheets? Did anything jump out to you in them that I've glossed over or haven't mentioned that you want to bring up in the comments? That'd be helpful as well. Do consider subscribing to the channel. We are a sort of kill team, but also Star Wars Shatterpoint, but also mainly kill team channel. So if you've been liking the Shatterpoint content and you've come on recently and then you found this and you're like, what's this game? This is Kill Team, Warhammer 40,000 from a little company called Games Workshop, a small indie company based in Nottingham. You may not have heard of them, right? So do comment there. Do like the video. Let me know. And if you're consider joining the Discord, the link's in the description. Loads of extra people joining the Discord. And join the Discord and say hi, right? And let me know, like, oh, I really liked this video or that video, because that's really cool as well. I want to say a big thank you to all my members, but especially to Sam and Alex, who are subscribed at the highest possible tier, and therefore they give a reasonably significant quantity of money every single month, which is truly, truly amazing, flabbergasting, incredible, and long may it continue. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back again tomorrow. Probably, hopefully, I intend to be back again tomorrow with something else, right? So hopefully we'll see what that is, and then hopefully on Sunday's video will be really easy because hopefully I'll be announcing that the Kill Team Typhon's gone on pre-order preview. We can only hope, right? We can only hope. Okay, until then, I'll see you again next time. Have a really good evening. Bye bye. 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 Bye bye.